I, 27 male, am married to my amazing wife, Ever, 27. We are unable to have children together naturally. Our fertility doctor said our best chance at having biological children is IVF, and we're now working our butts off to make that happen for us. Our family's aware of our struggles to conceive, and they know we've decided to pursue IVF. My sister Jane, 43, has been vocally outspoken about her disgust at our decision. She told us that my wife, Ever, being adopted, should be thinking of adoption before any form of fertility treatment. She's ranted about how IVF is unethical and how we're going to screw our kids up for life. She's focused most of her ire on Ever, and I've stepped in every time and told her to knock it off and to keep her opinions to herself. She questions Ever every step of the way about rejecting adoption and how her family must feel to know she'd rather have her bio baby instead of adopting when they adopted her. Ever opened up to Jane, which is something I didn't think she needed to do, and I told Ever as much, but she wanted to. She told Jane that adoption's not always an ethical option, and while it can be such an amazing thing and brings so much joy to everyone, adoption's nowhere close to perfect. She also opened up about feeling on the outs her whole life because she looked like nobody, and her family would always pass comments about her siblings, bio kids of her parents, looking like family members, and comments were often made about twins, meaning lookalikes. As the only kid who never got that, and the kid who was different, it weighs on you. She said her parents and siblings loved her as their own, and she loved them, but she also knew the extended family saw her as the adopted child, as the child that wasn't really theirs. She mentioned how both her birth parents rejected her when she reached out for contact, and how it all made her long for a genetic connection to the family she created. She told Jane she could have that. It would just cost, but she could not in good conscience adopt when it would be her last choice. Jane called her names and told her she was disgusting and should be ashamed for viewing things this way. Ever was so upset after talking to Jane. Then Jane called me a few days later and told me I should talk to Ever about how she needs to fix her thinking. I hated hearing my sister say that about my wife, and I told Jane that she was the biggest hypocrite because she only adopted her kids as a last resort after being told again and again that IUI and IVF would not work for her and that assisted pregnancy wouldn't either. I told her we never judged her for how she started her family, but I did judge her for having gone through all of that and being so hard on Ever. I told her it was disgusting and she should be doing better. Jane told me I had no business throwing her infertility in her face, and she told me to go screw myself. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but I think the reason your sister's coming down on your wife so much is because if you and your wife have a bio kid, she'll be more angry and jealous that she couldn't do it. Your sister sounds like the type of person who, if she can't have it, no one should be able to do it any other way but the way she did it. Your sister's mad you have a chance at a bio kid, while she never had a chance. I get this as well. Anything she said has far more to do with herself than you and your wife. It's an incredibly heartless and dismissive position. I can't believe even after Ever explained her reasoning to you, which she didn't need to do and was a courageous thing to do, your sister still didn't budge. I'd stopped talking to Jane for a long time. She's incredibly disrespectful. She can go preach from her soapbox at an adoption parade and check herself at family functions. Bingo. Sister Jane has some very real issues with Ever potentially getting the one thing she couldn't get, biological children. Your sister's being a vindictive idiot because IVF might work for you when it didn't work for her. I wouldn't be surprised if she starts, or has already started, thinking of her adopted kids as consolation prizes. OP, do you need this person in your life? Sounds like life is better without this toxic nutcase. My husband, 36, and I, 32 female, have been together for a decade, married for 3 years. I'm currently 8 months pregnant. We are a mixed-race couple, with him being Chinese and myself European. Throughout our relationship, his parents have been generally very supportive of me, with some cultural differences here and there. My husband works with his extended family, and we live on his parents' property for a long while, so they have supported us financially in several ways. His dad can be tough to get along with. He is very much of the opinion that he's right, and nothing anyone can say will change his mind, if he ever listened. My husband regularly butts heads with him, and I often let things he says slide that I would typically passionately disagree with, just to keep the peace. I do find this very hard. It took us a couple of years to conceive, and I've had a complicated pregnancy. We decided earlier in the pregnancy to do a hyphenated last name, with the order of his choosing. I know not everyone likes hyphenated last names, but this is important to me for a couple of reasons. I didn't take my husband's last name, which I never intended on doing, and this is commonplace in Chinese culture, so it never caused any issues. And to me, since our baby is mixed race, I want her to grow up represented by both of her ancestries equally. My husband didn't agree at first, but when he realized how much it meant to me and that his opinion stemmed from an ingrained patriarchal concept, he changed his mind. We didn't announce it because it seemed insignificant to us, but we told people if they asked. Now his dad found out. He gave my husband an ultimatum. Either you give the baby my last name, or I cut you out of the family. This means he would lose everything, his family and also his job, which is currently our only source of income, and we just bought a home. His dad won't even talk to him to discuss the matter and how we came to this decision. I understand where he's coming from, but this means a lot to me. My husband is torn, which hurts. I'm worried about the precedent it'll set to let him have his way, without even discussing it with us or hubby. Every time I write my daughter's name, it'll remind me that I'm not even considered important enough to be a part of her story in his family's eyes. This has created a lot of anger, pain, and stress so close to my due date. Would I be the idiot for standing my ground? You are the idiot. Listen, I get that it's important to you, and I agree your father-in-law's being an idiot. It's not for him to decide this, but what are y'all doing? You're saying you don't want to partake in a patriarchal worldview, but guess what? It's those patriarchal conservative views that believe in providing housing and a job for their son and his wife. And you're also not working and dependent on your husband. Maybe your father-in-law thinks you're also a girl who believes in patriarchal roles. So in his perspective, you've slapped him in the face. Yeah, it's really hard to effectively chant, "Screw the patriarchy," when you're putting your hands out every month for money from your patriarch to pay your bills. OP can buck the system, or she can keep the gravy train running. Can't do both. Lady, you can't complain about the patriarchy and then expect it to support you. Your husband needs a new job away from his family. OP's focusing on the wrong thing. The way I see it, the issue isn't that OP should ask her husband to choose her over his family, or even if he would do so, but whether they can afford to. It's not just the job. She's describing financial dependence in multiple ways. How will you support your family with the husband unemployed and having to move and pay rent? Does OP work? Do they have savings? How easy will it be for the husband to find another job? Are they prepared for the significant change in lifestyle if his family cuts them off? So, not the idiot, but I don't know how realistic OP is being. Whatever happens about the name, they need to work on becoming independent from his family. Agreed, but man, you guys shot yourselves in the foot. I'm sorry you're in this situation, and the solution most offered here is to put the father's name on the birth certificate and make a 5-year plan for financial independence. You may have to suck it up and go with it until you can stand on your own 2 feet. You can change the name after the fact. It's not like it's uncommon when people get married or divorced or adopted or what have you. This is about the baby's well-being, and if it costs the baby a place to live and sustenance, the price is too high. My 28 female, live-in boyfriend, 32, has a daughter, tween, with his ex, 30 female. I call her my stepdaughter even though I'm not legally married to her father, because for all purposes, we live together. She lives with her mother during the week and spends the weekends with us. However, her father occasionally has to work on Saturdays, and I take care of her by myself. Last weekend, she got her first period while she was out with me. So I helped her and explained how things worked and so on. I later found out that her mother was livid because she called my boyfriend and gave him an earful, that I didn't immediately call her because she would pick her daughter up, because as the mother, she was the one that had to be with her daughter during her first period, and I took this away from her. What bothered me the most was that my boyfriend didn't defend me, which he says was because he didn't want to start an argument and make an already difficult relationship with his ex even trickier. So I told him, I won't take care of their daughter by myself anymore if I'm going to get blamed for whatever decision I make while I'm with her. And if he has to work on a Saturday, then he should get her only on Sunday or change the visitation agreement. Am I the idiot here? Oh my goodness. It's not like you caused your boyfriend's daughter to have her first period when she was with you during one of his custodial weekends. What were you supposed to do? Tell the poor girl, see if you can hold it in and let me track down your mother, because I don't want to buy you a bag of pads and make sure you know how to use them. Ridiculous people and their over-the-top responses never failed to astound me. Stepdaughter was fortunate to have a caring adult who could help her through a stressful experience. Nice that you could be there for her. That said, if your boyfriend isn't going to bat for you against his ex's weird demands, you're in for a world of hurt for every other first that stepdaughter experiences while she's alone with you. If the only way your boyfriend understands this is because he feels the pain of his inaction, so be it. Not the idiot for holding him accountable. He may need to be told that his current housing situation might change if he keeps throwing his landlord under the bus. Babe, your live-in boyfriend thinks you're his live-in free babysitter. All I know is I'll be darned if people expect me to care for their child and then take advantage of that and badmouth me behind my back. Do you want to stay in a relationship where he doesn't defend you? I'm not saying you have to break up right now, but you need to have a solid, long conversation with your boyfriend about things moving forward regarding all this. I'm a light sleeper, so the smallest sound wakes me up, and it takes me forever to fall back asleep. My husband knows this, and it's been a big issue recently. He comes home late and then wakes me up as he's getting ready for bed. I've repeatedly asked him to sleep in a different room if he's back after midnight, but he refuses to. Yesterday, I decided to lock our bedroom door so he would get the hint and sleep somewhere else. I warned him that if he wasn't home by a certain time, I would lock the door, so it's not like I did it out of nowhere. When he realized the door was locked, he knocked a few times loudly, which woke me up, but I pretended I couldn't hear him, and I ignored him when he said he knew I was awake, and he told me to open the door. Eventually, he gave up and slept in a guest room. This morning, he was giving me the cold shoulder, and he said he should remove the lock from the bedroom over this. I didn't say anything, initially, since I could see he was angry, but then he asked me if I had something to say to him, and I said no. So he told me to try saying sorry, so I told him I wasn't. He left the room after that, and I haven't tried speaking to him since, as I know he's still mad at me. Am I the idiot? Edit. It's mostly him spending time with his friends and family, so he can leave earlier. Not the idiot, because you tried other solutions, asking him to sleep in another room, and he refused them. You told him what the consequences would be if he stayed out late. Then you enforced that boundary. There's nothing wrong with that, because he blatantly disregarded your request, and he was informed what would happen. However, this isn't going to resolve the problem. You two clearly need to sit down and discuss a solution that works for the both of you, which may be you sleeping in another room instead. This requires him to care about your frustration, though, and it seems like he doesn't. So OP should wait until midnight to see if he feels like coming in at a decent hour, and if not, scuttle over to the guest room? Yeah, there's only one solution that's going to work here. Quite obviously, and that's giving him his own way 100% of the time because he's entitled to do what he pleases. I've been with someone like this, and trust me, there's no recourse. He's not coming home from work late. He's out partying and socializing until after midnight and waking you up every evening. He can sleep in another room. This is the consequence of his choices. You completely have a right to undisturbed sleep, and the fact that he seems completely insistent on disrupting your sleep is concerning. You need to sit down and talk and establish this boundary. At the very least, he doesn't care about you. At worst, he's a controlling abuser, and you probably suffer harm in other ways as well. I, 32 male, have a sister, Andrea, 27. The issue is that they've always shown her more preference, and although I wasn't badly treated, they hardly paid any attention to me, because she's the golden child, I suppose, and she treated me with disdain. Before our parents died, they left everything to her instead of sharing it in the will. I knew that she had been behind this. My parents told me, Andrea talked to us about how she's more deserving, and we can see how that makes sense. Do you have any objections to us giving everything to her? After all, you're older and should be more understanding, etc. I was disappointed but just told them that I didn't care and didn't argue. That was a while ago. She got into issues and had to mortgage the house and squandered the wealth over a period of time. As she required help now, she turned to me and asked me to help her. She's also pregnant right now. I refused and told her I didn't want anything to do with it and that it wasn't my problem. She pleaded and cried so much that I felt bad, but I told her that she's got to reap what she's sown and that it's just karma getting back to her. In the end, she told me, I know how to tarnish your reputation by using this very pregnancy. In the end, I asked her to screw off and kicked her out of my house. She'd shown up there to ask for help. I wonder whether I did anything wrong, as she's my sister. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your sister screwed you over, and now she wants your help? She's so used to being the golden child and getting her way that she actually thought you would favor her too. Unbelievable. My sister's also the golden child and has lied over the decades to my parents, resulting in their rejection of me. Like your sister, she stole my parents from my life. There's nothing okay about this. You wouldn't help and she threatened you? My advice would be to stay as far away from her as possible. Any hint about how she plans to tarnish your reputation by using this very pregnancy? Dude, invest in a doorbell camera and security cameras. Protect yourself. Your sister doesn't deserve your help. I have a feeling she'll accuse him of going full Lannister, and maybe she needs to stop watching such shows. It sounds like she's used to having someone bail her out, and now that your parents are gone, she expects you to take their place, especially since she's made a series of bad decisions. I suspect that even if you said just this once, if you did help her out, you would be opening the door to her constantly asking you for more and more. Bro, she's probably gonna say, look what he did to me, a pregnant person, his own family. Calm down, LMFAO. OP, sometimes you just have to walk away. There are takers and then there are givers in this life. And takers often just use and suck the life out of people who try to be good to them. I know how it feels with family dispositions, but you just have to do what's right for you. And sometimes that means you have to let karma do its thing and be the best you can be in your own life. Best wishes to you.